Hey, welcome to the tutorial for Veeam Backup and Replication Enterprise Plus Edition. So here we are in our Home tab, and let's just start at the top here. So at the top of our ribbon here, there is the backup job. So this allows you to choose what you're backing up, whether that's a virtual machine or like a Linux, Mac computer, Windows, it's all there. Replication job is for when you're making a replica of a virtual machine. CDP policy is like when you're implementing Veeam or vSphere like clusters. And then you can like backup copy, and yeah, you can duplicate jobs that already exist, as well as you can do a restore with this option, so you can completely restore a VM or server. Failover plan is, we'll get into that later, but basically it's kind of like a snapshot, and then it will like apply it to a VM or server that has gone down. And then you can import and export your backups, as well as Practice Analyzer is like a Veeam tool that shows you what is and isn't configured at the moment within Veeam. So over here to the left is right now is our backup jobs. So you can see we have a couple here that have succeeded, and then that's the replication job. At the moment there's just one. And then this is the backup files, like the actual backups that have been completed. So the full backups of the DC and Windows 10 show up here. And then we have our replica over here. And underneath that is our failover plan. And then this last 24 hours is just a history of the processes that Veeam has been doing. And then if we go to the inventory tab, that's just going to show like our infrastructure that we have connected. So this is the Itas vSphere infrastructure, as well as the standalone host that we put in. So this, we have our ESXi server there, and then again just like history, and then I guess that's, you can add more groups with the physical infrastructure tab here. And then this is our backup infrastructure. So this is where we have a restore, where you can add more repositories and places to store your backup information. So you could have like an external one, or like, yeah, a WAN, proxies. And I guess you can even choose your service provider here. And then of course we have our vSphere infrastructure, and again, like I'm sure in many environments you would have a like repository for backups, like a dedicated server or multiple. And then just the standalone hosts. So that's this computer right here, the Veeam server. So the storage infrastructure you can add, and then the storage infrastructure tab, you can add more like third-party applications, such as like Oracle, or let's see, it should, yeah, Oracle, or like Dell's options. So this is, if you're in an enterprise environment and let's say they all have Lenovo or something, then you could just use their proprietary like infrastructure for that. So, and then the tape infrastructure is for when they actually store data, like backup data, onto analog tapes. So I guess that's just another medium that you can store information on, I guess for redundancy, or if it's like really old system. And then files is just it will basically show all your vSphere files as well as your server files that are like Veeam related. And I believe, oh, I guess one more thing I should say, just under most of the tabs there's the home, and you have these options that don't really change with the tabs. but then you also have view, and view is just going to like filter basically what shows up in this like inventory tab. And then I guess for this option, there's also the ability to add like computer groups for your inventory, which makes sense. And yeah, I believe that concludes the general overview for Veeam. Okay, so for the next part of the video, I'm going to be demonstrating a full backup and restore of the domain client. So we're going to back it up, delete it, and then restore it. So to do this, we need to head on over to backup job, and we will choose virtual machine as the option. And then let's call it backup job 2. Sure, we're going to hit next. And then we're going to add a virtual machine. So this is our vSphere infrastructure. Just gonna wait for it to load so we can select our VM. Okay, and we have selected that VM. We're going to hit next, and then next again. We can leave this information default, and then we can hit next again. We don't really need to set it on a schedule. We'll hit apply, and then let's just hit run the job when I click finish. And if we check the running tab, we can see that it has begun. So we'll check back when this is done. Okay, so we are back, and as we can see, backup job 2 is successful. So what we're going to want to do now is, let's go over to, this is our Windows 10 client VM that we just did a backup of, full backup. So we're gonna shut this guy down, and then over in vSphere, once this turns off, we're just gonna remove it from the infrastructure, delete it from the disk, and then do a backup. So once this turns off, we'll do that. Okay, and then we're just gonna delete it from the disk. Okay, so it has been deleted, and now we're gonna go back over here, and if we just click our home tab up here, go to restore, and then we'll choose the vSphere infrastructure. We'll restore from a backup, the entire VM. Let's do instant recovery. Let's do it with vSphere. And then we're going to choose from our backups. So, yep, let's do the Windows 10 one. Okay, that guy. I'm going to hit next. And then we are going to hit next again. Oh, actually, so we'll go back. Let's do to the original location, so we don't really need to configure any settings differently. And then we're going to hit next again, next again. Okay, and we're just going to hit finish now. And then, so we're going to hit close. And if we go back to our active jobs at the moment, or, oh, sorry, down here at running, we can see that this is starting to do the recovery. So we will check back in once this is done. Alright, so our restore has been successful. We can see right there it took about 8 minutes to do, and it has moved 10.4 gigabytes of data, or processed and transferred 6.1 gigabytes of data. So if we go over to vSphere, we can see that it is powered on. We can hit launch, and we have to log in. And as we can see, our domain client has been fully restored using Veeam. Okay, so next we are going to do a full backup of our domain controller. So this time we're going to go to backup job, and then we're going to choose Windows computer. And then once this loads, we're going to choose, work server. We're going to choose server. Let's do a backup server. Hit next, and let's call this domain controller backup. And then we will hit next. And then instead of adding through vSphere, let's just do it with the IP address. So 192.168.16.101 is the IP address. We're going to hit OK. Oh, right, credentials. That would be the top one. I'm going to hit OK. We're going to hit next. And then we're going to do the entire computer. Hit next. Hit next again. Hit next again. Apply. Then we are going to run the job right away. So now if we go to, oh, there it goes, it shows up right here. Alright, so we will check back when this has completed backing up. So I'm just going to take a moment to talk about like remote repositories for backing up your information from replicas or VM backups. So we talked about this briefly in the overview, but if we go back to backup infrastructure, you have all these options for like backup like repositories through like if you don't want to do third-party options, you can do your own direct attached storage or NAS or even like object-based storage. So we hit cancel on that, and then but if you did want to go the third-party external route, then there is Amazon, Microsoft, or Google. So those are all like huge tech giants that I'm sure would have you'd have great luck with for those repositories. We'll cancel here, and then if we go to, there's also like WAN options down to storage infrastructure, and then like before, if you hit add storage, you can see that you can connect all these third-party companies that will allow you to have just a lot more storage. So anything from Dell, Cisco, Lenovo, a whole bunch of them. So that's a really nice feature to have. And yeah, so that was a quick little overview of your options for additional repository space. Okay, so as we can see here, our domain controller backup has been completed. So for our next showcase, what we're going to do is, this is the domain controller, and I've created 2 security groups here and 2 users here. So what I'm going to do is delete all 4 of these, and then we're going to granularly restore the user groups and users. So we're going to hit where is it? Yeah, I guess, nope, application items. Microsoft Active Directory objects, that's what we want. So click that, hit next, and we can browse. So basically it's going to mount the information that was backed up, and then we will be able to choose our deleted groups and users. So it's launching Veeam Explorer, and this is specifically for Active Directory domain controllers. Okay, so we're going to choose our server, our directory, and then within our directory, users and computers, and then we'll go to users again. And as we can see, these are all of our groups. We'll just full screen that. So there's group 1 and group 2. We're going to right click that and just hit restore object. So it is completing the operation. Okay, so group 1 has been restored. It's going to load in again. We'll just do the exact same thing, but for the group 2. Group 2 has been restored. Then we're going to scroll down and do that for user 1. User 1 has been restored. And finally, we will restore user 2. Okay, alright. And now if we go back here, and let's just close this and hit Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers. And as we can see, our groups are now back. Okay, so now we are going to create a replication job for our Fedora VM. Our Fedora VM is running on the Itas infrastructure. So all we have to do is go to replication job and then virtual machine. And there we can give it a name. Let's call it Fedora Rep 2. We'll hit next. We'll hit next. We'll hit add. And we're going to choose our Fedora VM on the Itas infrastructure. We're going to hit add, we're going to hit next, then we're going to choose this IP address because that is the IP address of our ES6i. And we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to hit next, next. And then I'm aware that in order to get a like a state of the files and the VM to be restored with the replication, you need to enable the application-aware processing. However, I can't get it to authenticate for some reason. When I do root and then have the password, when I do the test, it just fails. So I don't know why that is, but unfortunately I cannot complete that that task, so I just have to leave it unchecked or else it won't let me complete the job. So I have to hit next, and then I hit run, and I hit periodically, and then if you hit continuously, it will continuously be ready. So I'll hit finish, and then we'll just wait for that job to complete. Okay, so our Fedora replication has been completed. So if we go to ES6i, it has been completed and created, and you can even log on. Okay, so let's create a failover plan. So all we have to do is go failover plan, VMware vSphere. We can leave that, hit next. Have to hit the replicas, and then we did rep hit add, and then hit apply. So hit finish, and then okay, all we have to do is, so its status is failover, which is good. And let's hop on over to the important file that we have on our replica, and let's just say that it got moved to the trash, and then, you know, it randomly turned off for some reason, and maybe it just won't come back on. So yeah, this horrible thing happened to our VM, so we're going to use the failover to restore it. So all you have to do is really implement it. Okay, so all you have to do is basically hit fail back to production on our replica. We'll hit next, and then fail back to the original VM. Hit next. Okay, and so now replicate VMs we failed over as soon as they're ready. So we'll hit next, and then hit power on target and hit finish. Okay, so the failover has completed, so we're gonna go back here, and as we can see, our replica is back. We just need to sign back in. So we're signing back in, and we're checking, and our important file is back where it should be. Alright, so that is our demonstration of the failover. Okay, so now we're just going to check and see how much the Veeam replicas and backups actually took, like storage-wise. So we're going to go to File Explorer, and then, so our C drive is very full, but I think that's just from like Veeam, and it's only a 40 gig hard drive. So since Windows and every other file is kind of on it, that makes sense. But all the like replica and backup information is stored on volume F, so that's like the repository. And it really only took like 27 gigs, so that's pretty good. Considering we had multiple backups and replicas on there, that's quite decent. So yeah, that is the tutorial and demonstration on Veeam, and honestly, it is great software. Like, I prefer it than like over backup exec. I think it's a lot easier to use and it's cleaner, so I'd highly recommend Veeam for a enterprise environment.